Today on the Recollector, I'm all dressed up. Halloween's coming, and we'll see Chrono Trigger for the Super Famicom and Super NES, as well as we'll revisit Mother 2. Why? Because the episode 1 wasn't complete. So, let's get hunting, baby. If you're an RPG fan like me, you must have played through the most popular games at the time, such as Final Fantasy or Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest in Japan. And most certainly you played a certain game that takes a lot of time, literally. And I'm talking about Chrono Trigger, of course, for the Super Famicom and the Super NES.
Chrono Trigger was created and published by Squaresoft, now Square Enix, on March 11, 1995. It quickly became a hit in both Japan and North America, even when RPGs were not actually popular here. The essence of the game's story and a new type of battle system really brought this game to be loved and cherished throughout the world.
Chrono Trigger is actually a sequel to a game, but not a lot of people know that, because the first game wasn't an actual RPG, but more like a visual novel. The name will definitely ring you a bell if you played Chrono Cross on the PlayStation 1. The game was called Radical Dreamers and was available only on the Satellaview, a plugin system for the Super Famicom on which you could play games on a satellite broadcast system of some sort. For more information about the Satellaview, I invite you to check out 16-Bit Gems. The Clan of the Grey Wolf covers the Satellaview in a real good way, and I don't want to get into the detail of all the BS game. Wait. Not BS as you think it means, but BS was the way the games were called for the Satellaview.
While Radical Dreamers was slightly a success in Japan, Chrono Trigger, even if the story differs by a lot, still follows that story. The game was so popular it sold 2.36 million copies only in Japan and about 290,000 abroad in the first 2 months of its release. What does it mean for us collectors? Well, the game will be relatively cheap and relatively easy to find.
Of course, there was 2 other versions of the game re-released later. One for the PlayStation, which was part of the Final Fantasy collection, and one for the Nintendo DS. But it doesn't beat the charm behind the actual first release, even if some corrections were done in the later versions.
I always loved this game. The soundtrack is amazing to boot and should be part of your collection as much as the game itself. The story is very intriguing as well, and will keep you playing for however long it takes you to complete the game.
So as you can see, we are in 2011. We are alive, so I'm guessing Chrono did a great job. I'm not here to review the game, but to talk about your collection. It is obvious that this must be part of your collection as much as you should start thinking about adding a side to your collection. Most collectors will only buy games, but also the collectibles attached to their favorite ones, like action figures or soundtracks. Of course, you could just download illegally the soundtrack online, but that is just a waste. Unfortunately, by the time of this review, the soundtrack is not available on iTunes, and I doubt it will be in the near future. Let's talk about getting the game.
The Super Famicom game can easily be found on eBay boxed for less than $25, not including the shipping, so you could find yourself a copy relatively cheap. Keep in mind, anything over $40 including shipping would just be a ripoff. Check for deals though. Some online stores like eBay might sell you Chrono Trigger without the box with Final Fantasy 4 and 5 and 6 for about $20. I'd say that is a bargain. The Super NES American version of the game can be found for between $40 and $60 unboxed with minimal shipping cost on eBay. You can also find it on retro gaming websites for about $50 unboxed. Anything over $60 without the box is just a ripoff, and I wouldn't get it. Keep in mind though that if you want a box game, it won't go under $400, and a new complete box of Chrono Trigger won't go for under $1,500 easy. If you have a PlayStation, you can get the game for $30 to $50 for both import and North American games. But be very careful when buying any PlayStation or any CD games online. They can be scratched all over, even if the seller tells you that it's in good condition.
Any CD, DVD, or scratchable media games must be bought in an actual physical store, in my opinion, unless you buy it new and sealed. The reason why is quite obvious, since in an actual store you can look at the CD condition before buying it. If you found anything under the minimal price I give you, most likely you got yourself a good deal.
So overall, Chrono Trigger is a pretty easy game to find. Might not be the cheapest around, but it's a good piece to get for your collection, especially if you love RPGs. If you never played Chrono Trigger, cleanse yourself of the shame you got on you and get it. You won't regret it, I promise.
Last episode I covered Mother 2, but maybe just too much in surface, when I wanted to say more about it. I love Earthbound and Mother 2 so much I had a feeling I would have just been rambling about the game, but looks like what needs to be done, and I feel this is not done, so let's do this, shall we?
Last time I talked about how Earthbound was a hard find and would probably be expensive, while the Super Famicom, well, was more popular, so most likely cheaper. I also mentioned a part of the history behind Mother 2. There is so much to be told still. First of all, Earthbound and Mother 2 is not released on any other media, not even the Virtual Console, and it's a shame, because it should be. Like for Chrono Trigger, the soundtrack is just adding the emotional moments that this game has to deliver. That's why many people want this game so much, because it's one of the rare games where it comes and gets you inside.
I also talked about Mother 1 and getting it through a reproduction card or illegal ROMs. I won't encourage the download of illegal ROM, of course, but getting a reproduction card isn't cheap either. I won't start covering Mother 1 just yet, because I plan to get the game and talk about it. What it was cut from my last review was the differences between Earthbound and Mother 2, in terms of what was censored. There is a lot of things that I would have covered, and I would have made a 3 hours video just talking about them. But I want to show you a few of them because sometimes they are cut for obvious reason, and sometimes, it's just being ridiculous. So let's make a top 10 of the things that has been changed. My own top 10.
Number 10, the Come Delivery Truck. Yeah. Okay, for obvious reason, even the Japanese didn't call it Coke, but Come. Yeah, they could have come with another name. What a nasty drink that must be. It makes me want to barf a little. Anyway, you can see this truck mainly in Haunted. In the Mother 2 version, we can easily tell, even without the actual name, that it's related to Coca-Cola brand. But it's been modified in Earthbound for some kind of running guy, but they still kept the color. But then again, it was censored for obvious copyright reasons. Number 9, the Red Cross crossed out. Any hospitals in Mother 2 has the Red Cross, generally meaning it's a place of care. Hospital here that has the Red Cross is a little bit everywhere, but in North America, it's a no-go with games. Many games get their hospital cross removed from their Japanese counterpart. I can't really figure that one out. but after some research, and I might be wrong, it would be because the Red Cross is or used to be managed by Christian religious people. Number 8. The Evil Blue Cult. In Happy Happy Village, the cultists in Mother 2 are very different from the one from Earthbound. Of course, it's because they are very similar to the KKK. In Earthbound, they removed the HH and changed the tip of the hat, so they look a little bit more like joyful little fellas rather than racist cult idiots. Number 7. Psy is PK or Psy? Ever played Super Smash Bros. As Ness? Well, if you did, and you did some kind of move, you would have noticed what he says. PK Fire! PK Flash! Well, you might have thought, wait, that doesn't sound right. And you'd be right and wrong. In Mother 2, the Psy attacks are called PK. The power itself is a Psy power, but the attack names are PK Fire, PK Rock, and PK Flash. While in the Earthbound version, they use a Psy power to name the attacks as well, like Psy Fire, Psy Rockin', and Psy Flash. Number 6. Earthbound 0 does not exist. Obvious plot references from Mother 1 were modified from Earthbound as we never had Mother 1, even if we almost did. However, it does not affect the story whatsoever, which is a good job from the translation team. If you never knew there was a prequel, well, you still wouldn't know. Number 5. Drunk because of a video game. Today, people accuse people of killing other people because of video games when they see an Xbox or a Wii in the room of the killer. I admit that Pokemon Stadium always made me want to throw my cat at someone and tell it to scratch that person to death, but I don't think it would have worked. Well, the translation team thought that having a sign saying cafe instead of bar would avoid gamers eventually to go to a bar, drink, and be alcoholics. Yet, they made the game so addictive. Wait, isn't that called irony? Number 4. Religion? Does not exist here. A lot of religious references were removed from the game, so much that I will just say that anything that mentions heaven or hell was censored in Earthbound. It's really too taboo in North America to keep them in, and it's totally understandable why they did it. And there are so much of them that I couldn't even find one image, so that was the black background. Number 3. The Blues Brothers never signed for this game. In Mother 2, there is a reference to the Blues Brothers called the Tanzura Brothers. In Earthbound, their name was changed to the Runaway 5, and strangely, I think the name in Earthbound makes more sense, not to spoil the game itself, but yeah, due to copyright reasons, they had to cut it out. Number 2. An octopus is not for writing. That is more a cultural thing than anything else, but the infamous pencil that you have to destroy using the pencil eraser in Earthbound is in reality an octopus in Mother 2. This is a derivative of the Japanese culture and jokes, and it would be hard even for us to comprehend what is really funny behind this. Number 1. Cheese or pickles sandwiches? Fuzzy pickles. And you have one more picture in your picture book. But in Mother 2, I guess their pickles were a little too fuzzy, as they don't say that at all when they get their picture taken. Instead, they say, cheese sandwiches. Still, the translation team did a big deal with fuzzy pickles, as every gamer I know will say fuzzy pickles when they get their picture taken. Or maybe it's just me. And maybe we should just say cheese sandwich. It makes it boring, though. I love pickles! Yeah, right.
So that's it. There would be so much more to say about Mother 2 and the reason why I love it so much. I already covered the price on the first episode of the Recollector, but here it is, my whole feeling of the game and why I love it as much as in Japanese as in English. I guess that's a wrap. I won't copy one of the people I admired, Happy Video Game Nerd, directly, but as he closed this episode of Earthbound with Fuzzy Pickle, I will close this one by saying, cheese sandwiches! Man, that's lame. Do you like the new Recollector look? Okay, that's my Halloween look, but if you like the new Recollector look, just go on the Recollector website and tell me about it. Who knows, maybe that will be my next look. See you there.